Hello, everybody, and welcome here to Dega Super Speedway here for the first week of the playoffs here for the AWC Pro Series. Hello, my name is Christian Delgado, alongside once again Peter Tero back in the booth with us after a little bit of an extended vacation. But glad to have Peter in the booth. And Peter, it's a week one of the playoffs. It's got to be
Yeah,
exciting here, especially here at these super speedways.
yeah, and what a venue to host the first week of the playoffs for sure, and should be an exciting race. I'm certainly excited to be back, and for this to be the race that I come back to, it should be a good one for all you fans at home to watch.
Definitely agree. Not the amount of numbers we expected to show up. A little bit. We only have right now, it looks like 14 people in the session, but we've seen time and time again, we don't really need a lot of numbers here to put on a good show, and hopefully that's going to be the same for tonight's race.
Yeah, it should be pretty exciting, and with the storyline of the playoffs starting, you got a lot of drivers in here who are looking to just advance themselves to the next round. And with a win today, they could possibly do that. And I think one of them that I'm looking at is Brandon Kiger. Remember, he won week one at Daytona. Obviously, a very similar style track. The way you race it is pretty similar. And I think Brandon Kiger is going to be somebody to look out for tonight to possibly lock himself into the next round.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what you can do. Obviously, you talk about Kiger coming out here and, winning here. But remember, Kiger, and it's no disrespect to the 85, but he really wasn't the dominant car that week. He just kind of made his way through the race, and I guess that's a strategy that all these drivers have to do is to make it to the end, because you obviously have to be at the end of the race to try to go race for a win here to lock yourself into the next round of the playoffs. But remember, this 85 really wasn't, I wouldn't say the guy to beat. A lot of the guys who were racing up front got caught up in that big wreck towards the end there, and but out of the guys that we see here, there are a couple of guys that stick out as maybe some favorites, and this 85 is one of them. Obviously, one here in the season debut. We also have, Kentorian Davis back here in this 88, one at Atlanta, swept the Atlanta races here, and so coming into the playoffs with a lot of momentum.
Yeah, Davis off that two-win streak, and he's going to be looking to possibly put himself back in victory lane once again. And I do think it's a good point. Who is up front in this whole race is not necessarily who you're going to see in victory lane at the end of it. And both the super speedways this season have proved it. Daytona with Kiger winning and him not being up front till the end. And then Atlanta was just, it was thrown up in the air for anybody to grab, and Kendorian Davis was the one who got it. But that whole race, I mean, you couldn't even tell who was going to come out on top. And I think if we see even a fraction of the action that we saw at Atlanta, this race is going to be very exciting.
Exactly. I mean, Atlanta, I feel like is kind of its own kind of thing anymore. Atlanta is kind of that track where it's the kind of unknown, right? We've seen some really good racing like we did last, a couple weeks ago, but we've also not seen the best racing here. Versus when you come to something like a Talladega, like a Daytona, it's a lot bigger, it's a lot wider. The racing's, I feel like, a little bit more predictable here at these, I would say generic super speedway races. Obviously, we consider Atlanta one, but I feel like, in my opinion, the racing has always been better since we've come to the Atlanta, or Echo Park Speedway. In these recent years, I feel like it's consistently put on the best racing, and I feel like, Talladega, it's its own beast in its own right, in different ways. Like, I mean, you're looking at the 7 here of Enright, currently fastest in practice, actually. And I mean, it's just so much wider than Atlanta, and it allows these drivers to put the cars in a lot different places, which in some cases, when you're racing hard at the end, can make some good racing, but also in that same perspective can really bog down a lot of the runs that these drivers have just because there's so much room to go.
Yeah, and with Enright on top, 4 minutes left in this practice session, I want to look at who's right behind him. Wyatt Youngblood coming into this race tied for fifth in points. Obviously, with the playoffs starting, most of those top 16 have been regulated to the same point value. But Wyatt Youngblood, he, remember, got the pole at Daytona earlier in the year. He's shown a ton of pace on these super speedways, and even Atlanta, which if you want to consider it one, I would. He showed a ton of pace. I think this is where Youngblood has shined most of the season, and if he can continue that streak of good runs on the super speedways and finally close out the deal, he might be able to break his way into victory lane tonight.
No, I definitely agree that Wyatt strength is these super speedway races. I think him and that whole team that he has around him, the 88, obviously, of Kendorian Davis, won at Atlanta. you talked about it, Peter. Wyatt winning the pole at Daytona and showed a lot of speed there until getting caught up in some stuff. And I feel like Youngblood it really has really figured out these super speedway tracks and has figured out where he needs to put the car and to put himself in a spot to compete for wins here. And honestly, Wyatt has shown speed a lot throughout this season, has shown some splashes, but definitely these super speedways I feel like are his bread and butter. And in my opinion, the best way he's going to get into, uh, you know, through the rounds here is through these kind of super speedway star races versus someone who has been consistently up front like a get Dorian Davis's teammate or a Gio Turpin or if Zerati or even Oliver Quinney if he can have a good clean race. I feel like Youngblood has a really good chance here to potentially lock himself in the next round.
Yeah, and it hasn't even just been like that he's not been good on the other tracks. He's shown speed. He's just caught a ton of bad luck this season, and you really got to feel for him because there's been races where he's been up front, had the chance to go for it, and then had it just not fall his way, fall in the complete opposite direction, and he ends up trying to pick up the pieces at the end of the day. So hopefully today he's just going to try and avoid all of that. But I like that you mentioned Christian Zarate because Zarate was one of those drivers earlier in the season. Once he started getting those wins, such as at Charlotte, we thought he was going to be a big factor as the season went on, but we haven't seen him come out to every race since then, so it's good to see him out here in this field.
Right now, Christian Zerati in this session hasn't set a lap yet, but obviously it's Dega. I mean, you don't really need to do a whole lot. A lot of guys just come in here to maybe feel what the package is going to be like, maybe practice, pit stops here, which I think is a really good thing to do, especially with the new update. A lot of guys have had to relearn a lot of the basics here in this next gen. Getting down on the brakes to get down pit road in a safe manner. I know definitely as a next gen guy, uh, getting on the brakes has definitely been a lot different comparatively to prior experience, right? It's really easy to overdo it. I feel like it's a lot harder to lock up the tires in sense of that, but it's a lot easier just to kind of overcook it, spin yourself out trying to get on the binders there to get down pit road. So, but like I'm not surprised to see someone like Zerati, Quinney, Justin Wilkes back there in the 93 to come down and take some laps. But like I said, I perfectly agree with you. Nice to see some of these guys come out here and at least attempt to show up here for Dega.
Yeah, and the field is slowly growing from once we started just a couple minutes ago. So I think it's going to be around 16, 17 cars. And remember, there's 16 in the playoffs right now. And not every playoff driver has come out tonight. Jordan Fisher is not in the field. He's second in points. But I think some of the bigger storylines are Kendorian Davis, Christian Zarate, Brandon Kiger, all three of those drivers in the top four in points, especially with Zarate, where he didn't even run. He's run 4 races this season, and he's third in points just off of the 2 wins that he's captured throughout the season.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see, and to be honest, the 39, he hasn't shown up the last couple of races. I hope everything's okay with the 39 camp and everything else, but, we thought that he had, by far probably the best chance to come out here and win a championship once Jacob Quill was, asked to leave the hunt for the championship. We thought it definitely handed it over to the 39 machine, but now even the 39 hasn't been able to consistently show up, and it's really given some of these other drivers an opportunity to step up to the plate, like a Norrin Davis, like a Gio Turpin, like when he shows up at Christian Zarate, maybe a White Youngblood or something like that. It's really allowed some of these other guys to step up to the plate and put their name in the hat to potentially come up here and race for a championship.
For sure. Qualifying underway now. 5 minutes for these drivers to set 2 laps. And the first car out on the track there, you see Wyatt Youngblood in the one machine. We just talked about him. He will most certainly be a contender for this pole position. You're going to get to watch as he does his outlap right now.
Yeah, and Wyatt's really shown that he really knows how to qualify at these super speedways. And I'll say there is a talent to it. Me and you both, Peter, have friends that have mastered the art of super speedway qualifying, and I definitely think that qualifying in these super speedways really does help because if you can start up front, you can stay ahead of those wrecks. It really gives you a better chance to get this car to the end.
Yeah, and you're going to see a lot of these drivers, if not all of them, run that top side, at least on the out lap. And with iRacing, sometimes it's the first lap that's faster, sometimes it's the second. It kind of depends on how the package is working, what track you're at. But as you see, Youngblood goes to the bottom of the track. I think he's going to try and set his fast lap on the first one out.
You're going to see that one machine just try to paint that yellow line, try to keep the wheel. We'll actually go into his cockpit here, not on the nose cam, and you'll just see he's just trying to keep that wheel as straight as possible. You can't really seesaw on the wheel here, and it just scrubs off speed, right? And you're going to see him just going to barely dip that wheel to the left to try to get down to the bottom. No, he's going to stay up top here. I think we thought he was going to run his fast lap here in this first lap. It looks like he's going to run the top here in 3 and 4. Going to start up, try to get a lot of momentum out of 3 and 4 to set this heater here on lap 2.
Yeah, Youngblood winding it up, coming out of turn 4. And you're going to see, as we continue to go on board, the stability in that steering wheel. That's what makes you that's what separates the good and the great superspeedway qualifiers, is that stability with your hands. If you can keep your hands steady, keep that wheel straight, and not saw on it too much, you're going to scrub off as little speed, and you will be at the top of the charts as long as you keep that pattern up.
Right now, a couple of drivers have set a lap, and now Zach Case in the number 66 P1 with that 54.048. And Gio Turpin back there in P2, but I imagine that they're kind of doing the same thing that this one's doing. So we'll wait until, Wyatt comes out here and sets a lap, and then we'll kind of compare off of that.
Yeah, and you can see really down on that yellow line, pretty much putting that left front fender on the yellow, and see how smooth that wheel is. Coming out of the corner, not much wheel input, just lets the car slowly straighten out as the banking falls away. And through the trial, I mean, that steering wheel, that orange line, is not passing 10% of the center at all this whole lap.
You're going to see some drivers who would like to try to cut the apron. You're going to see some who would like to stay up top. Right now, White Youngblood, P2, 54.165. Zach Case still currently out front with that 1.148. We'll continue to see some drivers come out here. Looks like Brandon Kiger crossed the line to start his second lap here. Obviously, we talked about Brandon, your week 1 winner at Daytona, so we know that he knows how to get around these super speedways.
Yeah, Zach Case, I just want to mention, he set that lap on his first lap. That was the lap that he set initially out of the gate. And now, actually, TJ Hanley has taken the top spot, 54.145 for the provisional pole position, as you watch Brandon Kiger go into 3.
TJ, one of those guys who really prides themselves on their super speedway craft, and obviously you see him right there with that good lap. Obviously 1,000th quicker than now Joseph Enright, who has put himself up into the P2.
Enright was fastest in practice, so the pattern continues for him, although it's one spot behind where he maybe expected to be. Kiger's lap across the line, the 85, not too well. It's going to be 10th for him with a 54.264. He's going to have to pick up the pieces at the start of this race.
TJ Hanley, only 20 seconds left in qualifying. I don't think it's going to give enough time for anybody to come across the line. We'll take a look at this 93. Definitely not going to get there in time, just coming out of 1 and 2.
I think a lot of these guys are just going to, accept their spot at the back and have a car for the end of this one, because we talk about it a lot at these super speedways. The attrition is a big factor. It was huge at Atlanta. That whole race was based on attrition and endurance. And tonight, I don't expect much different. Maybe a little bit cleaner. This track's wider, a lot more room to run. But with qualifying winding up, it's TJ Hanley on pole position, 54.145, 1,000th ahead of Joseph Enright in second, as you said.
Yeah, the first pole position for that 13 machine, so good job to TJ. Obviously, we documented a little bit about his, growth in the super speedway department. I feel like he's really shown some speed here at the super speedways. Need a little bit of help everywhere else, I feel like, but right now, TJ really shown that he's got at least the qualifying power underneath that TH Designs machine.
And as these drivers start to hop on the grid, we're going to get your race rundown ready to go for a 16 car field.
Looks like your pole sitter, obviously, TJ Henley with that 54.145. You see Joseph Enright right there, P2, with that 54.146. Just 1,000th away from knocking this 13 off the top spot, but still a really good job for that 7 machine. We'll see back there in P3 Zach Case, and that 66 will be P3. And rounding out your Fast 4, Wyatt Youngblood. We talked about his super speedway craft there. He's going to round out that top 4. P5, Geo Turpin in the 42 machine with Caleb Gordon in the 00. Going to be that P6 position. P7, Nicholas Amons in that 09 machine. Good qualifying lap for him with Gabriel Ngoli. Going to round out that top 8. Rounding out your top 10, Brian White in the 84. And Brandon Kiger, your top 10.
In 11th, it's going to be Benjamin Bushnell in the 25. On his outside, Wyatt Thompson in 12th. Oliver Quinney is going to start 13th with Christian Zarate in 14th. 15th is going to actually be Kendorian Davis, not JJ Moore. And for your 16th and final spot, it's going to be Justin Wilkes in the 93 machine.
So 16 cars decided to show up here for the inaugural race in the playoffs here for the Prestige Cup Series. And speaking of, we talked about this, TH Designs, Gene. Shout out to TH Designs for sponsoring your Prestige Cup Series playoffs. So thank you to TJ and everybody who works there with the TH Designs department. Kind of fitting that he's going to come out here and get the pole here. But sponsoring the playoffs, sponsoring the championship, so the champion will get a little bit of a cash prize plus a trophy, and then some other prizes. I think all the way down to your final 4 in the championship. So huge shout out to TH for all they do there for sponsoring the playoffs here for the Prestige Cup Series. Definitely couldn't do without them.
90 laps tonight around Talladega. Stage break is on lap 30. These drivers are going to be pushing for that stage break to look for any changes or anything else to do.
You can look at your race weather for tonight. 79 degrees, 97 track temp. So pretty warm out here here in Alabama. But obviously you see 68% humidity with an 8-mile-an-hour wind. So nothing too bad. Still great weather conditions for some great racing for tonight.
For sure, and as the pace car takes these drivers down the back straightaway, you're getting a beautiful look around this 2.66-mile track in the middle of Alabama, and a beautiful facility that's hosted plenty of NASCAR races over the years and hosted plenty of great races and finishes, and I'm sure that we'll get to add another one to the history books tonight.
Definitely. I mean, Talladega historically known for kind of the buzzer beater. This is where championships are made here, especially here with Talladega being in the playoffs here for the Prestige Cup Series. But you look at, in a month or two in the real life Cup Series, we're going to come here in the round of 8 to potentially crown a new champion there in IRL NASCAR Cup Series as we continue to count down that season as well. But we see the pace car take a hard left turn on the pit road. The 13-7, 2 Chevys going to round us out to start our race here as we get ready to go into this long extended trial. And we'll hand this race over to Barney, and he's going to lead us to green here from Talladega.
Out of turn 2 and onto the back straightaway. Enright got a really good start. He's got a car length over Hanley, but now Hanley pulls back down the back straightaway. Dead even, top 4 lines. Kiger, the only driver on the high side, trying to make it 3.
And Kiger looks like maybe just trying to go to the back maybe a little bit. Trying to keep that car safe. Remember, that's exactly how he won this race at Daytona, was just kind of riding in the back, keeping the car clean, and that's exactly what he did. He jumps all the way back, and he's going to be sitting in the back there on that top lane. But TJ Henley, with help from the 66, that is 66 going to come up and try to lead that top lane.
Zach Case was airborne at the last super speedway at Atlanta, and now he takes the lead, leads lap 1 of the race here tonight. And what a job for the 66 Toyota to get back to the front, rebound after the rough kind of season he's had. A lot of bad luck for the 66 so far, but Case right now trying to control the race as Enright to the bottom.
Enright goes down and leaves the 66 out to dry. Gets help from Youngblood, help from Hanley as they tandem 3 by 3 to try to get that bottom lane working.
Enright with a push from Youngblood. Youngblood trying to stay even on the back bumper of the 7 machine, but he's kind of laying over a little more on the right side. Now, the drafting and bump drafting tactics that drivers are going to have to use tonight is going to play a big role, because if you aren't pushing correctly, you mess it up, you push them a little too hard on one corner, you could send them around, and especially at the front where we're watching right now, if something like that were to happen, especially this early, it could be a quick way for your race to go downhill just like that.
You saw riding on board right there. You saw that one machine. Oh, is the 7's going to dump out of line? He didn't like maybe the pushing the 1 was doing. I thought it was a decent job, but wants to jump out of line there. But you saw the 1. He was actually lifting a little bit. If he didn't feel like he could give a good push, he backed off there to make sure he was trying to be a safe driver there. And now you see the 66 could have split that. Oh, 0-0 3 wide, and now TJ Hanley going to try to lead this top lane.
And Hanley, great job to cover off Case there in the middle lane. Case has no choice but to push Hanley up front. He's clear if he wants it. But now Case to the high side with help from Kiger. 2 Toyotas trying to push past the Chevy. Case leads that lap 3 wide at the stripe. And they're both going to clear TJ Hanley.
And you have to look at that. 2 Toyotas come together there to, take advantage of the top lane. And that's something you're going to have to talk about. There's not a lot of Toyotas here in this race. A lot of Chevys. Really, just a lot of Chevys, a couple of Fords, and a couple of Toyotas. That's something you're going to have to look at throughout the race.
Yeah, now Hanley back to the top side of Case. Now Kiger actually tried, he almost left Case out, but I think he was getting down to let Case get in, and Youngblood almost wasn't quite having that. He looked to try and get back to the inside there of Kiger, wasn't quite able to make it work, and now these 2 Toyotas are really leading the field now, 1-2, and then it's Chevy, Toyota behind with Gio Turpin in 5th.
And Gio Turpin has had a quiet race here, just quietly just kind of sitting on the bottom, trying to make what he has do. He has a Toyota behind him in the 09s of Nicholas Amons there, as we see a little blink out of the 42 machine. But right now, Toyota's up front. We have a couple of Chevys up front. And then that lone 55, that's the Gabriel goalie. And the Ford, that's going to be 3rd in line on that top.
And now the Toyotas are controlling both lanes as Kiger went up to the top. Wasn't content staying behind Case, and now he drops back down to the bottom. He wants to be leading this one. He doesn't want to sit at the back this whole time. Get those laps led, get those points as well, and possibly put yourself in a good position to rack up 10 stage points at lap 30.
Obviously going 25 laps to the end of stage 1, and you're already seeing some aggressive racing here at the start of the race, which we love to see. I mean, we want to put a good show on for you fans at home, and these drivers are doing a really good job as you now see the 13 help from that Ford in the 55 trying to push that 13 out on that 2nd lane.
Goalie giving pushes through the corner. You got to be careful about that. It's really easy to upset these cars, especially with this newer draft package. I mean, the next gen a year ago, 2 years ago, you could, oh my goodness, TJ Hanley just split the middle of the 2 Toyotas. Case is down on the apron. He's got to come back up. He's somehow still down there losing spots, though.
Yeah, he's going to have to safely merge up there. They're going to give him some space here. He needs to get back up to speed, though, without losing the draft here. With these next gens, it is super easy to lose connection to this draft. But it looks like he will have a little bit of help from the 7 machine. Enright's going to go and give him that precious draft. He needs to get back up here to the front of this pack.
Yeah, and Hanley made an aggressive move to get between those 2 Toyotas, and it got him the lead. And now he's got Youngblood behind him. And you could see Youngblood is really tucked up under the back of that 13. And there's 2 issues that could arise over time. One of them is you can't really see much when you're tucked up that close behind. And at the front of the field, that probably doesn't really matter. But the other issue is temperatures. And somebody like Wyatt Youngblood, I expect him with his super speedway expertise to be able to keep track of those temps. But it's very easy for them to sneak up on you when you're pushing somebody. And if you wait too long to get out of line and get some air on the nose, your race could literally go up in smoke.
Well, not only that, when you're getting hot, you're kind of at the disgraces. Here comes the 13 to jump out of line. I guarantee you that's a temp thing. White said, I'm hot, I'm hot, I'm hot. And the 13 will jump out of line and move his way all the way to the back, or maybe pick up some guys who are leading the top here. No, the 85 is going to take him 3 wide, and there goes the 13 in the back. But, talking about temps, that guy who's pushing you, you're almost at the mercy of the guy behind you, right? Because if you're lifting to try to save some temps, and that third car in line is just driving through you, it's really easy to just blow up without really doing anything about it. I've personally experienced that where I was pushing the leader of my pack, and I said, hey, I'm getting hot, and I try to back off, and the guy just is pummeling you from the back end, and it makes you blow up because there's nothing you can do besides maybe jump out of line, potentially put yourself in a spot to get caught up in a wreck, or even to lose the pack because when you pull out a line, it just becomes a parachute on your car.
Yeah, and the good thing, though, is for this race, the drivers have gotten one fast repair. They've been given it by the Prestige Racing race control, and that is something that I think a lot of these drivers are going to be looking at as a fallback. That's the backup plan. You don't want to get in a wreck. It's going to mire you back. You're going to lose that track position. But if you do get in a wreck, you have that fast repair. You're not completely out of it. I just don't think anybody's really going to want to use it.
Exactly. You really want to keep that in the back pocket when you get down to 15, 10, 5 to go, so where you can afford to push and push that car to maybe where you can maybe push the temps, and if you blow up, well, I got a fast repair. We're gonna have a green white checkered or whatever. Or if you are involved in that wreck there with 10 to go, where they're pushing hard, you have that fast repair in your back pocket that you can use. But right now, you're starting to see a lot of these drivers. We're coming 20 to go in the stage. A lot of guys trying to get single file right now.
Yeah, and you could see back there, Wyatt Thompson was giving Justin Wilkes some heavy pushes. Wilkes is the blue car on the high side who just dropped back, and Thompson is that black 77, and he was all over the back of Wilkes, and Wilkes' car looked very unstable, especially through the corners when Thompson was tucked up behind him. So possibly something that these drivers are going to be looking at, because right now is the time to workshop stuff, test it out, see what can work, and figure it out so that when you get later in this race, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing too, is trust, right? And at these super speedways, can you trust that guy behind you to push you safely and not wreck you? And it goes both ways, right? It's almost some contact between the 41 and the 93 there, but it goes the same way. Does the pusher trust that you can take the push and not wreck himself and potentially take you out with him if you give him a huge shove? And right there, the 77 trying to push the 93 really hard, and 93 was having some issues. So you saw the 77 go around them, and now he's that third car on the top.
And you saw there they lapped Oliver Quinney, and Quinney actually got a packet loss return to the pits there. So that is really not something you want, especially from somebody who's in this playoff fight, shown a lot of pace this season. To have something like that happen early in the first race, he's going to have to claw back because he's already a lap down. Now, the good thing is he's the only car a lap down, so if he can stay that way, get to that stage break, he'll get that lucky dog, he'll be back in it. But a possible issue that you don't want to continue throughout the race.
Exactly. I mean, and obviously it sucks, right? I mean, Oliver, maybe that's... you don't know what's going on with the 41 situation when it comes to internet. That might be the only internet he can get, and if he blinks out, there's nothing he can really do. It's unfortunate, but it's a part of sim racing. It's a part of, when you sign up for these races, you take the risk of potentially blinking out and having an issue, whether it's with your internet, if it's a computer malfunction, whether it's maybe your wheel turning off and giving you issues, right? That's just a risk that you take when you load into every race here, not only in the Prestige Cup Series, but just in iRacing in general. And fortunately, Oliver Quinney got bit by the internet bug, and obviously, luckily for him, we're almost halfway done with this stage. As long as no one else goes a lap down, he will get at least one lap back here when we get that stage 1 caution.
That top side starting to form up, led by Kiger, pushed from Case and Thompson behind him. They're trying to make up ground, and I want to look back to Atlanta because we saw the potential of the side draft, and if you have enough help on the top, you don't necessarily need to beat them with numbers. You can just straight up beat them all out with 1 or 2 cars if you can work the side draft. It's a little harder here, obviously. The speeds are faster, and not only that, but the corners are much wider, so you're not going to be scrubbing off as much speed on the exits, but you can see how well it's working. Kiger with a nose out ahead there of Wyatt Youngblood, and they both go to try and side draft each other in the center of the corner.
Yeah, I mean, the top can definitely work here. It's definitely not as drastic as it used to be with the new draft bottle. What we saw right there, the top two and the... Oh, it's the 66! I think the 66 just blew up.
Oh my goodness, Zach Case, he was pushing Kiger all the way out front, and he finally got there, and that is exactly what we talked about.
Well, we get the time.
Hopefully he can make it back.
Yeah, I think he's parking it right here. We'll go back and take a look. We'll ride on board with the 66 car. And you'll see, I mean, we're not going to be able to see exact temps because obviously that would be kind of bad for, I mean, it's unfair, right, for everybody to be able to know each other's temps here in the sim. But you'll see him go up here, push this 85 out to the lead here, Toyota teammate. And he'll drop down here, and just like that, you'll hear a poof. And there
It
goes.
goes.
Yeah.
And a great job from Wyatt Youngblood to hop on the binders and avoid the back of the 66. I mean, everybody doing a phenomenal job there to keep their cars straight and not have that be a big wreck, because that is a situation where 9 times out of 10, you're wadding up a couple cars if you blow a motor at the front of the pack.
Yeah, I mean, it was super great job by everybody involved, right? Not only Zach Case to try to get it out of the way in a timely manner, but also for everybody around him, like Youngblood, to be like, oh, whoa, like, something's going on, let me back off, give him space, and keep everybody in the fight here. But now I see a little bit of a battle for the lead here. We saw the 93 of Wilkes go up there and try to go around the 77. Now he's got help from the lap car. Oliver Quinney going to try to push that 93 out.
And nobody is sitting around right now. Wilkes did not waste time to get to the outside of Thompson. Kiger dropped back almost as soon as we went to replay. He lost a ton of ground. He's at the back of this pack now. But very aggressive racing for 16 laps, coming to lap 17 into this race. And to have it where right now drivers are taking pretty much every opportunity they can. I mean, obviously you got to fight for those stage points, but you have to wonder, how many drivers are we going to have at the end of this if this racing keeps up?
Yeah, you see the 93 jump in front of the 77, the 41. 2 laps down now. Will kind of get left out to dry there, and honestly, I don't blame him. I mean, he's a lap car. I mean, they have no obligation to try to get him back up. I mean, definitely the 93 is like, hey, thanks for the help, but you're a lap car, so as soon as I get clear, I'm going to drop you out. Now you see him working with the 13 machine.
And you can see how quickly things can change. I mean, Quinney was up to second in this pack, and now he's dropping all the way back, and obviously he's not for position, but on track, he was second. Now Wyatt Thompson actually is going to go to the inside of Justin Wilkes. Help from Youngblood, and Thompson's going to go back to the top spot. Wilkes is going to try and find a gap to get low. Maybe not. He's going to hold strong on the high side right now.
Yeah, that really wasn't really a gap for him to get down onto, and it's going to, I feel like for the side of third, it's going to continue to be the same story that happened with the 41. Everybody's like, well, I mean, you kind of just did it to him. We're going to do it back to you. And it looks like the 13 will go up and help the 93 once again. It looks like the 13 just not wanting to ride in line. He's going to go up there and give a huge shove to the 93.
Right now is where you find your friends. This is the point of the race where you decide who you're going to be pushing, and you might end up staying with them for the rest of the race. But, you know, we're 18 laps in. You get to 10 to go. That's where you lose your friends, and it's time to go for whatever you got. So right now, I think you see Wyatt Thompson, Wyatt Youngblood both working together. They're not trying to work with Justin Wilkes right now. They're trying to worry about their own race. And Wilkes has got tons of help from TJ Hanley. What a run on the high side from the 93 to take the lead back away.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge run just for 2 cars to do something. And Hanley, I thought, was going to clear down, let the 77 get the run, and he's going to be out there by himself once again.
And now Wilkes is really far ahead. If Youngblood and Thompson have a gap, they could possibly go for it if they really want to. Let's see if they decide to go for it there. And with how big that run was, I almost wonder if Thompson and Youngblood were saving fuel or something, because normally you don't see that big of a run unless the leaders are literally going slower than the average race pace. And that could have been what's possibly happening. You know, you don't often think of super speedways as a fuel mileage kind of race, but it is for sure possible, and it's not out of the question to be saving fuel this early.
Well, I'm definitely surprised to see that, because obviously these race admins for the Prestige Cup Series, they timed that stage one around, when you would run out of fuel naturally, in these fuel tanks. So I am surprised to see, that they allowed that to happen. Right, two cars. It definitely looked like that the bottom was just slower in general than those two top cars. Because granted, we talked about you can make two cars work if you side drafting and using all the tools in the shed. But that's not what happened that last time. You saw the 13 and 93 hook up, and they drove from 10th in line all the way up to the race lead.
And right there, now Thompson goes to the high side. Wilkes looks up to block it. Thompson with the push from Hanley. 4 Chevys in the top 4. And Quinney's up there, the car 2 laps down. Thompson staying behind Wilkes. Hanley goes to the bottom and is actually going to leave now Thompson out to drive as Wilkes goes to the bottom.
Yeah, Wilkes had to block that run from the 13 machine of Hanley, and fortunately left the 77 out to drive, but he does have help from the 41, the lap car of Oliver Quinney. It looks like the 93 just trying to block every run that he can, try to keep this race lead.
And look at how spread out this pack is right now. And I know it's a smaller pack than an average super speedway race, but very, very spread out. It looks like drivers are really struggling to get to the back bumper of another. And I was also thinking about this. Maybe that is possibly why the 93 of Wilkes and TJ Hanley both were able to catch up, because Wyatt Thompson, when he's out front, to get Youngblood to the back of him like they were 5 laps ago, he's kind of got to drag the brake a little bit. And you're going to scrub speed, and normally it's going to pay off because you're going to get Youngblood behind you, pushing you, giving you more speed, but maybe just misjudging it a little bit, giving up too much speed, because now look at how hard it is for Thompson to get to the back of Wilkes.
Yeah, it's definitely something interesting to talk about. And you even look at this, you look back at Gio Turpin. I mean, he's definitely within the draft range to catch the front of this pack here, and either has decided not to or just has not been able to get to the back of, who is that, the 00 of Caleb Gordon, who's making his debut here in the Prestige Cup Series. Even then, you see Caleb Gordon can't get to the back end of the one of Wyatt Youngblood, so definitely something to talk about.
Yeah, and remember, iRacing did have an update recently, and me and Christian were talking about it before we went on air, about how there's possibly been, these cars they got an update. Every time iRacing does an update, they update almost every car. But this draft package seems a little different to me than it did earlier in the season at Daytona and at Atlanta. Atlanta's a little bit of an anomaly, doesn't quite represent exactly the draft package you'd expect at a Talladega. But compared to Daytona, this feels much more spread out. It feels like that bubble from the Gen 6 era has returned.
Yeah, it's definitely changed the way that the racing has come to be here. And it's very interesting to see, we now have what, 3 or 4 pack series. Now we have cars coming down pit road.
Oh, and Thompson just got slammed by Justin Wilkes into the pit area. He's going to slide. Nobody else is going to hit him. Everybody avoids, but that is huge for your race leader.
And that was huge. 93 just hooked the entry a little bit too much, gets into the back end of the 77, and that's probably going to lose the 77 and maybe the 93 the lead drafter. But we have some guys who stayed out here. The 55, a goalie. It looks like the 41 lap car. I think that's also a lap car in the 99. That is Christian Zarate in the 99 machine. In the 09 of Nicholas Ames, we got a couple of guys who stayed out here an extra lap.
Yeah, and maybe this is your strategy to try. Well, and obviously maybe the fuel wasn't quite going to make it to the stage. We'll see what all the other drivers decide to do, and you see them. Gabriel Goalie ducks down, brings nobody else with him. He's a lone wolf in that pit lane, locks the brakes up just a little bit. I think one of the things you're going to have to look at is speeding penalties, because I think you're going to have a couple tonight.
Yeah, we have a lot of black flags. TJ Hanley, there's 3-4 cars with black flags. Wyatt Thompson sitting in there pit with a black flag. Wyatt Youngblood. I feel like half of those cars from that first pit stop had a black flag there.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just overcooked it. Obviously, Justin Wilkes very much overcooked it into the back of Wyatt Thompson, and maybe everybody was just basing their pit entry off of him, and they just didn't get it quite slowed down in time. I'm not sure. And obviously, the braking on these super speedway cars is much less than it is on an intermediate or a short track package, because you don't need to use the brakes. You want as little brake pad as possible. And at the end of this race, I mean, you could probably take the brake pads off and use them another 2 seasons if you really wanted to, because you're not using them that much. But that also means that the brakes are very cold. So when you come into the pits, you have to be extremely careful. And I think a lot of these drivers got caught out by it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it looks like every driver in that pack had a black flag. So I definitely think, following the leader and the leader overcooked it, it just kind of forces you to do the same thing here. But it'll hand the lead over to Brian White. And actually, the second place is at 25. He'll follow in the fifth car in this line here is the 77. That is White. Thompson actually goes a lap down due to all that shenanigans. And we'll have to see if these, top 4 cars come down pit road here. Actually, the top 3.
Yeah, and there's 7 on the lead lap at the moment. So if these drivers don't have to pit, the ones who are out front and the others were just trying to flip the stage, then they might really be in a bad spot, because you come into Talladega, you go into the pits, and you expect not to quite lose a lap. It's a big track, a lot of time, plenty of time for a pit stop, but when you have that black flag, that hold in the pits, it can really mess you up. And now with 8 on back, trapped a lap down coming into this, it's going to make it a lot more difficult. They'll most certainly get some of those back via wave arounds and everything, but you got to think of somebody like Oliver Quinney, Wyatt Thompson, who are 2 laps down, and we're kind of banking on that lucky dog, especially if you're Oliver Quinney.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting circumstance here. If I'm Quinney, I'm trying to negotiate around your race leader here. Say, hey, can I at least just get one of them back, and I will help you out. I'll give you a favor if you let me go here, because, I mean, that at least puts him 1 lap down versus 2, right? And that at least gives him an opportunity to potentially, I presume that everybody a lap down here, the Zeratis, the Hanleys, the Youngbloods, they're going to take the wave, right? Because obviously they sped, they went a lap down because they had to sit in the pits. They don't need a pit, most likely at the end of stage 1 here. That'll give
Some drivers are about to come down. Sorry to interrupt, but Christian Zerati has said he's pitting. I believe Brian White is pitting, so this is going to change everything up. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Christian. But Brian White, Christian Zerati come in. I believe they brought Nicholas Amons with them. And now this will really change who's going to get their laps back.
So this will hand over the provisional race lead. Granted, he's about 30 seconds behind here. It's going to be close. But Kendorian Davis right now will hopefully be in a shot to potentially race for this race lead, depending on how those top 3 guys' pit stops go. But we have Kendorian, Joseph Enright, Gabriel Ngoli, Brandon Kiger all here in this pack.
Well, Benjamin Bushnell is actually with Wyatt Thompson at the moment on track, and Oliver Quinney, and he is technically the leader at this point. So that really, I mean, Kendorian Davis is not even probably going to get close to the back of the 25 of Bushnell. So if Bushnell does not pit, this could be a popular stage win for that 25 machine if he can just kind of inch his way into 10 stage points.
Yeah, and all he has to do is kind of limp this around for 1 more lap. Obviously, it's the completion of lap 30 here for the Prestige Cup Series, and he's slow. He is very slow compared to those top 2 in front of him.
Yeah, Wyatt Thompson, who was right in front of him, just said, I'm pretty sure Benjamin Bushnell just ran out of gas.
Yeah, he is sputtering right now down the backstretch. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see it on the onboard there. I mean, even if he makes it back around, he's not going to make it back around to the pits. He's got to pit here.
Well, here comes Kendorian Davis to take the white flag here in the stage. I don't know if that... I really don't know if he can make it back to the pits here. He's going through turn 3 now, and out of 4, I mean, all he's got to do is make it to the line.
Turn 2.
Yeah.
He's on the back straightaway. Enright pushing, and remember, these two are both battling for this stage win. They are both in it. Actually, most of the drivers in this front pack are in it for the stage win. Bushnell is going to come into the pits. Kendorian Davis rounding 3 and 4. And into the trial.
Now, that would have been a good call if we're at Daytona, right? I mean, he probably would have passed the start-finish line going down pit road, but here, The start finish line's after, and now side by side for the stage win. The 7 is going to steal it.
Joseph Enright, stage winner here at Talladega. Kedorian Davis, second. Gabriel Ngoli, third. Kiger, fourth. Nicholas Amons, fifth. Brian White, sixth. I believe TJ Hanley's going to get eighth. Youngblood, ninth. And Turpin, 10th.
Well, we haven't got the caution yet. So they're going to still continue the race here going into 3 and 4.
Well, now the bottom, the last three are crossing the line right now. Turpin was 10th. There's the caution.
Caution will wave here. And, I mean, obviously, Enright won the stage, but he's going to come out back here in P4, way behind this pack. I think he crossed the line expecting the caution to come out and lost a bunch of track position due to it.
Yeah, and Benjamin Bushnell actually still got 10th in the stage with 11 on back being trapped a lap down. So, I mean, you got one stage point, you have good track position coming into this restart here, and you have a full tank of gas. But remember, the pit lane is normally closed 2 laps from the end of the stage. So I don't know if there's going to be a penalty there for Benjamin Bushnell having to come down. I mean, obviously he didn't really have a choice, but that is kind of out of his hands.
Yeah, I would imagine that there should be a penalty for the 25. Obviously, pit lane should have been closed, so he entered a closed pits, right? Obviously, he had to, but that's something he had to maybe think about before he decided to take that strategy. But we're gonna come out here with the stage point and help out the points wise, but they'll definitely hand off everything here. And with stage 1 under complete here, we're gonna go ahead and take a quick commercial break while we get the opportunity to, and we'll be right back for potentially some pit stops at the end of stage 1.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back here at Talladega for race 1 of the playoffs, and obviously we see some drivers coming down pit road. Looks like Joseph Enright, the 88 of Kedorian Davis, TJ Hanley, Gabriel Ngoli. Looks like he's going to win that race off pit road.
Yeah, and interesting set of pit stops. Obviously, the pit stops prior to that stage break really shook a lot of things up, and I think some drivers caught lucky breaks. Wyatt Youngblood being one of those, getting that black flag under his green flag pit stops 5 or so laps from the end of that stage. He's going to come out 7th on the lead lap, definitely taking a deep breath now that all that is over and he doesn't have to worry about possibly getting a lap back.
Yeah, I mean, this was a huge break for some of these guys that they could stay, 1 lap down. They got the waiver round. Obviously couldn't come down and top off on fuel or anything, but that was just a strategy that had to happen there. And there's no one else to blame but themselves, right? They sped down pit road, gave themselves a black flag, had to hold for 40 seconds or 40 odd seconds, and it really just affected the way the strategy has worked for a lot of these drivers. But when it has allowed some guys to come down, take a lap back, obviously now the 77 of Wyatt Thompson down to only, looks like 1 lap down, as well as Oliver Quinney.
Yeah, and that's obviously unfortunate for Thompson because remember, basically when he lost those laps, he was coming into the pits as the leader. Now, I think the one silver lining you can take out of all of this is that car is not very damaged. Even though he got a big shot from Justin Wilkes, I think he was able to get the rear end of that car repaired under his time in pit lane, didn't have to use that fast repair. That is a big break. especially because of how important the spoiler is at these style of tracks. Once you get it kind of jacked up like that, it can really kill your speed and act like a parachute on the straightaways. He sees coming back down, maybe needs some more of that damage repaired.
Yeah, I mean, got really lucky when he got knocked down pit road there that no one else hit him, right? He was sitting there perpendicular to where he was supposed to be, and luckily, Geo Turpin, everybody else involved there that came down with him, didn't hit him. And so you'll see the Frost Motorsports driver right there. Looks like take right side tires there and make his way back onto the racing surface.
Yeah, Benjamin Bushnell has been given an EOL penalty, and I'm assuming that is because of his hitting when the pit lane was closed prior to the end of the stage. And like we said, it was out of his control. But if you're just joining us now after that commercial break, Benjamin Bushnell was leading at the end of the stage with a lap left, half a lap left to go, and the car ran out of gas on the back straightaway. So he had to come down the pits, didn't have a choice, still ended up finishing 10th in the stage, but he's going to be relegated to the back of the field with an EOL penalty.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a decent gamble. I mean, I didn't think that field was going to be that tight, to be honest. Every other track we've gone to where they've set up the stages, they've had, a good buffer to get to the end, so it allowed good racing, hard racing. But obviously here we saw today that they couldn't even make it without, doing some type of insane strategy. And obviously the 25 got bit by that bug, couldn't make it to the end of the stage there, and obviously we'll get penalized for it.
I mean, there's a real chance this race becomes a fuel strategy race. We have 2, maybe 3 stops left for every driver in the field based off of the fuel run that just happened. It was around 25 laps once drivers started pitting, and there's a possibility you could stretch it to 29. Looks like 30 was out of the question. We're going to restart on lap 35, remember, out of 90, so you can do the math. And these drivers are certainly far from done pitting, and it's going to be close at the end of this one.
Now in the new face up front, we're going to have Gabriel Ngoli and Joseph Enright. Ford Chevy front row going into the restart zone for the second time here as we'll start stage 2.
Goalie with a good restart. Gets about a car length ahead of Kadorian Davis. And lucky for him, Davis has got cars on his outside. He's going to have nowhere to go except for push him. But Enright gets a little bit of a nose up ahead as they climb into 1 and 2.
Enright with that car just behind him, just a little bit closer. He's going to give him that arrow push out. Obviously, you're going to have that momentum off the top to push that 7 out in front of that 55 machine.
Yeah, down the banking and onto the back straightaway. Enright with a push from White on the high side. They're tandeming up front. Enright is clear if he wants it, but I think he's going to stay up. Nope, he doesn't. He goes to the bottom, leaves White out to dry, and now that Toyota Bass Pro Shops number 84 has got clean air on the nose with Wyatt Youngblood behind him.
Yeah, now it's the 84 pushed by the 1, and now the 7 pushed by the 55, so already some mix-ups there when it comes to who's pushing whose line is in what, and you're already starting to see that top start to die just a little bit.
And manufacturer mix-ups as well. I mean, the beginning of this race, it seemed like most of them were working together. It was Toyotas working together, Chevys working together, and a couple Fords. But now it's Chevy Ford, and then on the top side, Brian White, a Toyota, and a Chevy behind him. And Kadorian Davis, Nicholas Amons, that's a Chevy and a Toyota. So nobody is with their manufacturer teammates at the moment. So you're going to have to really, really search for your friends at this point in the race.
I mean, it's always unique to see, like, who's willing to work with who's willing to not work with someone, right? That's the biggest thing is, like, who's not willing to work with someone. And you'll see guys go out of their way to, dump someone out of the line or to, put them in the spot to where they have to, put themselves in a bad position. And that's always something interesting for me to watch is, like, okay, who isn't willing to work with this person, or what manufacturer or what team isn't willing to work with someone, right? As you see now, the 7, he'll drop out and give the lead back to the 55. A goalie now. It's goalie Kendorian Davis, Nicholas Amons, your top 3.
Yeah, and that's something we saw out of Enright early on in this race as well. Remember, he dropped back. He started right up front, and then he dropped back really early on in that one, and he does it once again on this restart. And he still had plenty of time to go. We're not even halfway. about 10 laps shy of that. And look at Wyatt Thompson on the high side, member, still a lap down, but now he's technically just got it back, so he's on the lead lap, but he's at the back of all this field.
Yeah, technically on the lead lap now, but right in front of all the lead cars. So the second he gets passed by another car, he will go back a lap down. So I imagine that 77 is not going to be very cordial about letting these guys by. I mean, this is potentially his race on the line here already on lap 38.
Yeah, and now you see Zach Case on the high side. Remember, Case blew a motor earlier in this race, pushing the driver who's now pushing him, Brandon Kiger, and Case is back on the lead lap. He scored second right now with Caleb Gordon on the high side, on the bottom side in his debut, just a nose out ahead of the 66. But we're starting to see those manufacturers come together. It's 2 Fords on the bottom behind Thompson and 2 Toyotas on the high side. Case with a push from Kiger through the trial into the lead.
And Kiger and Case have been working really well together all race long. Obviously, we saw the 66, expire his engine trying to get his, Toyota teammate out in front there, and he did it. And now it's roles reverse as the 85 will now push out the 66. And you really just have to give credit where credit's due. What a recovery out of Zach Case of that 66.
Yeah, and I mean, at some point, if you're Brandon Kiger, you have to be, thankful for what Zach Case did for you. I mean, he sacrificed his own motor to get you out front. He has gotten rid of that fast repair, doesn't have it to fall back on. So now, if you're Brandon Kiger, you feel like you almost owe Zach Case at least some pushes out to the lead, and right now that's what he's doing, and he's gotten the 66 right up there.
Yeah, and once again, everybody, for the most part, getting single file, we see once again the 13. TJ Hanley's been, I would feel like, the most aggressive when it comes to jumping out of line, trying to make something happen. I feel like he's like the one guy that's advocating, like, hey, come outside with me. Let's try to make something work. But right now, everybody just content running single file.
And I think most of these drivers are content running single file because of what we saw fuel-wise in that first stage. Remember, all these guys running out and having to pit, 25 laps into a run. If you're somebody like Zach Case, who's out front right now, you're burning a ton more fuel as the leader. And Brandon Kiger's probably burning a ton of fuel as well, pushing the 66. Everybody behind them is probably just content sitting because they know they can save gas that way. They can probably go half throttle, have the draft just kind of keep them in check, and try to have a little more gas than the guy in front of you.
As we say that, here comes the top lane working a little bit as the 55 getting shoves from TJ Hanley. And Oliver Quinney behind there, one of our other lap machines, trying to make that top lane work.
Yeah, goalie on the high side, pushes from Hanley, and goalie's car looked a little unstable not too long ago. I was watching him when he was in second on the bottom side, and it looked like the car wanted to dance around a lot, especially in the corners. So if I'm TJ Hanley, I might be looking at that. Be smart about these pushes. I don't doubt that Gabriel Ngoli can take the pushes. It's if the car is under him enough right now where he can get the pushes that TJ Hanley is giving him, especially through the center of the corner.
And once again, you look at it, I mean, it's two different manufacturers trying to shove each other. You see that pointy Chevy nose trying to push, that kind of curved forward body. I feel like these are one of the most uncompatible body combinations out here when it comes to in the nose and back end, I guess we want to call that. The pointy Chevy nose trying to push this kind of rounded forward body where you could kind of slide the car around. I just don't really see this working very well.
Yeah, the Chevy historically has not pushed quite as well as the other manufacturers. And I mean, even back when the next gen was first coming into fruition, it was even worse. I mean, they modified the noses on the Chevys to make them a little sharper, and now it's almost started to become an issue for the Toyotas as well because of that new nose that they've gotten on the car. Now, it's not as bad because there's a flat part in the center, but once you drop away from the flat part on the last, quarter side of the bumper, it starts to get much more pointy and can become an issue when you're pushing somebody.
Well, remember, you think about how the new Toyota's been developed. Remember, this is the second iteration of this Toyota Camry. It used to be a lot more rounded, and they actually, Toyota and the whole TRD department went to work due to, that horrific crash that Eric Jones experienced back with the old Toyota, where it was super hard to push not only the competitors, but even the Toyota teammates. Remember, you think about that horrible crash. I think it was here at Talladega. It might have been Daytona. I can't remember. But it was Talladega. Yeah, and it was a whole Toyota pack, remember, and fortunately, the 42 drove through someone else, which forced, and it just caused the whole accordion effect. And obviously, we saw that horrific crash of Eric Jones in that 43 machine, and it actually forced Toyota to come and work on the nose of these cars. And now, obviously, as you pointed out, Peter, with a little bit more, I would say, flatter nose on these Toyota Camrys.
Yeah, and Jones breaking his back in that crash, and that's the kind of things that you look at as a manufacturer, somebody who's very involved in the sport, and you say, okay, what do we need to do so that we are not in that situation again? And you don't even think about it like when you're watching a race like this that's on iRacing, it's not in real life, but the ripple effect of what these manufacturers do in real life really trickles down to these leagues, such as the Prestige Cup Series, where these drivers can push a little differently for the Toyota guys, and now it's the Chevys who start to have some more of that disadvantage, similar to what we saw back in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely unique to see, the advantages and the disadvantages. We've seen the Fords, we've seen Team Penske dominate these super speedway races, and I think the car has a lot to do with it. Look how much flatter that 55 is when it comes to the nose compared to that 77 of Wyatt Youngblood. I mean, it's just so much flatter. It's so much easier to push the car, not only in general, but just harder, right? I mean, you can just get lined up with really whatever car you want and push it a lot harder just because of how flatter that nose is. And it's just, like as you said, Peter, it's a ripple effect. Obviously, there's no life or death implications in the sim, but it does trickle down to where, it does make it a little bit easier for these Fords to push out these guys at front.
And now it's two Fords on the high side with Goalie and Quinney. Quinney one lap down, but Kiger and Case back on the bottom, and now it's Case once again pushing the 85 of Brandon Kiger. And we came into this race tonight, we talked about it in the pre-race, Brandon Kiger, he's not historically one of the drivers who is up front throughout the whole entire race at these super speedways, but he finds himself at the front towards the end. But today, the trend has flipped so far, and if he can continue this pace, lead all these laps, he's going to be in for a great points day if he can just finish off it with a good finish.
Yeah, exactly. It's been historically documented here, especially here on High Velocity TV. When you get down to the end of these things, it's usually a coin flip whether the guys up front stay up front or if the guys up front, take each other out trying to race for the win here. And obviously that's what we saw here in the series debut here for HVTV in the Prestige Cup Series at Daytona. And we saw the leaders kind of wreck each other out and allowed the 85 to kind of jump up and kind of, I wouldn't say steal a win, but, go ahead and take advantage of the situation that was given to him and win in week one there at Daytona. And obviously we saw there at Atlanta, it was kind of a chaotic race in its own right. And it allowed Kendorian Davis to sneak through and win. Kendorian Davis at Atlanta at one time was 2 laps down and managed to fight back and take advantage and obviously win his first race of the season there at the Echo Park Speedway.
Yeah, and now 3 wide, 2 rows deep there. As I say that, it begins to fall away. But you could see Hanley on the high side, pushes from Youngblood, really didn't want to stay behind the Ford of Goalie, but made a good effort on the top, but at the moment, it's just not working. The numbers on the bottom are so much more, led by Kiger, and you saw it about a half a lap ago. Kiger thought, he went to the top side to block, but then immediately came back down. He didn't need to do all that because they were just slowing each other down with the side drafts.
Yeah, I mean, the side drafting is going to be something you have to talk about. I mean, with the new draft model and everything else, it's forced these drivers to take advantage of the side draft to where you almost making contact with some drivers. So oh wow, a huge shun out of the 55. It's gonna push the 13 out there 3 wide by himself. But here comes the one of Thompson, contact between the 13 and the 41.
A save by TJ Hanley in the center of the corner to hold on to that 13 machine, but obviously now no help on the top. He's gonna drop back and try and slot in probably here behind the one machine of Youngblood. But a great job for that not to just blow up the center of the pack.
Yeah, I mean, a great save out of the 13. Hanley handled that pretty well, honestly. Just kind of got out of the way, tried to save it, and now it jumps back and lied here. Fourth on the top here, and now he'll come back to fourth on the top as this top lane starts to roll once again.
Yeah, and Zach Case was one of the first drivers to go up there once he saw it going, and I almost think that that was a choreographed script between Case and Kiger to let Case get back up front and get some air on the nose of that 66 machine, because Kiger didn't fight it at all, and as soon as Case got clear, he dropped back down in front of the 85. So these Toyotas are doing a great job of managing this race so far.
Yeah, I mean, that 85 and the 66 have been masterful when it comes to getting those cars out in front and, you know, making the race manageable. Obviously, they're fine letting that 55 potentially drop down. If he wants to take it, as he will, but they always somehow choreograph their way to get back up to the front and lead that bottom lane.
Yeah, now Goalie actually got to the lead with help from Quinny and Youngblood. He's going to lead the bottom lane, and that's kind of going to split up Case and Kiger, because now with Case with the draft from the Ford 55, it's going to pull him away from the 85 machine. As you see, they go to the around lap car of Justin Wilkes, and Quinny slots into the bottom third in line.
And that's actually separating those two. I was okay, kind of, if I'm the 85, just kind of letting the 66 push him out. But now that you have a car in between you, those two, it's really probably affected the way that these guys want to race now. And I guarantee you, if they get a run, that 66 is going to jump out as well as the 85 to help get them back together.
Yeah, that's going to be their priority, I would assume, for the rest of this one, because they have worked so well together when they are bumper to bumper. But when they're separated like this, they're half as effective, if not even less. Kiger has really used a lot of help from Case, and Case has done the same. So if they can get back hooked up, they'll definitely be a threat. But right now, Gabriel Goalie has actually done a really good job of staying up front. I don't think we've talked about him enough tonight.
No, we definitely haven't. And the 55 has been up here for the majority of the race, and really with no help. I mean, he's had a little bit of help from the 41. I don't know, maybe that's a manufacturer, maybe that's a teammate. I'm not sure. But besides that, he's kind of managed the race on his own. But as we say that, Zach Case with a huge run from the top, from the 1 and the 13. Take back the lead lap, but here comes the 1 of Wyatt Youngblood. He's going to split him out with help from the 13.
Yeah, and Youngblood, he saw Case go up, said, okay, I'll ride with you all the way to the front. But as soon as he got there, immediately took the opportunity, and Wyatt Youngblood is to the lead today at Talladega. We hyped him up so much pre-race. It's good to see that one machine with clean air on the nose. And guess who pushed him? It's TJ Hanley. Pretty much the most aggressive car tonight, is now second on the inside.
And that one machine in that 13, whoa, is a huge slide out of the 66 back there. But the 13 and the 1, I feel like have been the other two combo that have worked really well together, have kind of stayed with each other the whole race, kind of like that 66 and 85. And they've done a really well job being aggressive, using that top lane. Now, obviously, they're 1-2.
And Wyatt Thompson has been one of those drivers who is also kind of in that three-car tandem, but since he got put a lap down and now he's been very separated from these two, he's not able to be as much help as he was earlier in the race. TJ Hanley has just come on the chat, pitting this time. I believe Brian White, Gabriel Goalie both keyed up. They're also coming. This will be the first green flag pit stops of this run, lap 53.
Yeah, 21 laps in this stint, so it's about that same time where we would expect things to happen. So here comes the 1, the 13. Looks like the 85, the 66 is, oh, the 1. Hopefully he got down in the speed and time here. We'll see if we have any black flags. Looks like a black flag for Zach Case.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, Zach Case came in very hot there. I mean, Wyatt Youngblood I thought was going to be going too fast, and Case came in and passed him on that pit entry. Very unfortunate for the 66. That is not what you want to see at this point.
No, exactly. Especially with no guaranteed caution. That could be a potential race ruiner for that 66 machine. But we'll go back to your race for the lead. That a 55, a Goalie, the 41 lap car of Oliver Quiddy, as well as Christian Zarate. No, Christian Zarate back on the lead lap, but third in line, second on track, and then also another lap car with the 77 of Wyatt Thompson.
And you know what else Zach Case speeding means? It's that these drivers who decided to pit that lap, Wyatt Youngblood, the 85 machine of Brandon Kiger, and TJ Hanley, they have one less car to help them get back up to speed. And Hanley is very separated from Youngblood and Kiger, so it might be like a two-car tandem here coming out of the pits going against a pack of 10 or so cars.
Yeah, you see the 1 in 85 right there, trying to get back up to speed. Obviously, we talked about Hanley. He's about almost a little under 2 seconds behind, and I don't think they're going to slow up. Even though I think it would be better in the long run, I don't think they're going to slow up and let him catch up.
Yeah, and I don't know if they can afford it at the moment. Maybe you wait for these other guys to come down pit lane, but over time, it's just going to keep falling away. I mean, Gabriel Ngoli currently leading in this pack is single file all the way through. They are going to be going very fast. 190 mile an hour right now into turn 1 for Gabriel Ngoli, and that speed is only going to keep increasing. But Wyatt Youngblood and Brandon Kiger, they are really going to start to stagnate with only 2, maybe 3 cars.
And we have on the ticker right here, stint time here. So the laps that people have come down pit road, obviously we saw the 3 drivers 9, 10th, and 11th come down pit road here. But, I mean, we saw the drivers go up to, 29 laps here. Christian Zarate has got to be running out soon.
Yeah, when is everybody going to be coming in? Christian Zarate, a lap or 2 ago, he said pitting in and then took it back, said cancel that. So he's going to keep staying out, and a lot of these guys at the front are going to continue to stay out, but I think it's a valid question. How long can you go? I'm not shocked to see Zach Case, Wyatt Youngblood, Brandon Kiger come in. They were all kind of running up towards the front, but I am a little shocked to see Gabriel Ngoli be able to go this long. He was towards the front the majority of that run. He's got to be running dry.
I'm surprised Zarate's made it as long as he can, as long as he has here. 30 laps, I mean, that was the extent. I mean, we saw the 25 run out on lap 30, so, and obviously you see that 99 not tucked up behind that 41 whatsoever, trying to save as much fuel as he can. We'll see if he comes out there.
Zarate's coming in this time. He just came on the chat. Let's see if he brings anybody with him. Goalie is going to come in as well.
Well, it's Quinny.
And a lot of them just locked up there. Hope you were planning to take tires because you might need them now, and hopefully no black flags.
You know, black flags for these 3, so good in. Hopefully they just, don't overshoot the box, don't spin the tires on exit, and especially do not speed on exit. That's the last thing you want. But that'll hinder race lead over to Joseph Enright, Kendorian Davis, Nicholas Abitz, Brian White, and Gio Turpin, your top 5.
Yeah, and right now, actually, Wyatt Thompson is not a lap down. Technically not a lap down. Joseph Enright is your leader, and Thompson's right in front of him. This is something he's going to be wanting to see. If you're Wyatt Thompson, you're almost praying for a caution at this point because it puts you in a great position to fight for the lead because we are starting to get towards the latter stages of this race. It's almost to lap 60, 30 laps to go. I mean, the drivers who just pitted, they are really going to have to stretch their gas if they want to go the rest of the way. These guys who are waiting, maybe saved a little more earlier in that run, they are going to be in prime position where they actually might be able to stretch it to the end on one stop.
Yeah, they need to go at probably a good, I would say, 2 laps. And they should be able to make it here. And I think everybody but that 25, potentially a Bushnell, back there at P6, it's 29 laps. I don't really, that's surprising to see that because we didn't get a caution. Well, I guess still, he had to pit before the stage caution came out, so it gave him, 2 extra laps here. It's going to be close for that 25 machine once again, but these 5 in front, as long as they can make it and win another 2 laps, they'll be in a really good spot to make it to the end.
Yeah, and we'll see if they'll be able to do it. I mean, this race really is in prime position to fall into the hands of Fuel Strategy with how it is going so far and playing out. And you look at somebody like Youngblood who had to pit much earlier than he wanted to, only 21 laps into the run. I mean, what can you even do at this point? Do you try and save, or do you just go all out and try and hope for a caution? I mean, your options are very limited at this point.
And it looks like Youngblood Handley got together back with somebody to get back with the 66 and 85. So now, I mean, they kind of helped stop the bleeding a little bit. Now it's a 4-car pack versus a 2.
Yeah, and I'm assuming Zach Case came out right around them because, remember, he got that black flag, and that almost doubles your time in the pits So there's a chance that he came down, or sorry, that almost gives you a whole nother lap. That gives everybody else a whole nother lap on you. So I'm wondering if he came out right with them, and that is perfect for everybody else. Not incredible for Zach Case because he's a lap down, but at least he has some help with him.
Exactly. I mean, regardless of being lapped down or not, he's got help. And to help stop the bleeding, right? And he's trying to bandage the whatever left of the race that he has. And having, you know, 3 other cars around him who are competent definitely helps.
And lap 60 right now, coming to 61, we'll see. People are definitely, yeah, Justin Wilkes is going to come down, Benjamin Bushnell as well. A lot of drivers still staying out, though. Joseph Enright, one of those, currently leading with Condorian Davis second. They stay out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that if they know that, if I'm these guys, I mean, they've kind of already laid their bed. I think they just need to go until they can't, and then they'll come down whenever they need to, right? I mean, in my opinion, that's probably the safest thing, right? If we get a green-white checkered or something, if the longer they stay out here, the shorter they have to go on this next run, and it could potentially stay out here for a green-white checkered. Obviously, it's really easy to save fuel here if we do get a caution here at the end. I feel like this is probably the best strategy right now that these guys are calling right now.
I do want to give a round of applause for every driver in this race. It has been an extremely clean one, especially off of the last plate race here. Everybody's coming in now. Everybody is coming in, led by Wyatt Thompson and Joseph Enright. Thompson gets a little tap just like before. This time it doesn't spin him around, but that was from Condorian Davis, and we got 5 cars into the pits here.
No black flags. Justin Wilkes did get a black flag when he came down with that pack, so he will have to sit in pit road and take that penalty. But here, this last pack here, no black flags.
Yeah, and that is perfect. That is the biggest pack we've seen come down pit lane so far in this race. And for all of them to have no black flags, they should be able to come out together and not lose too much ground here. We'll see how it shakes out. Obviously, Gio Turpin is currently your leader on with Gabriel Goli second. Turpin, I don't believe, has pitted yet in the 42. And he's got help from the 00. Turpin's coming down now. He's bringing Caleb Gordon with him.
Yeah, I mean, interesting strat. I think he definitely did what I said that I thought was going to happen. I think he just went as long as he could. Fortunately, doesn't have the numbers with him. He does have the 00, who is a couple laps down, it looks like right now. 2 laps down from maybe a penalty prior to the race. But that will hinder race over the goalie. He's definitely not going to be in and out before goalie gets to him. So it's going to be interesting to see what that happens. You see the 00 miss his box. That's exactly what you don't want to happen if you're helping someone else here. But here comes the 55, the 41, who's a lap car, and Christian Zarate to retake your race lead here on lap 64.
Yeah, and that right there just shows you how much of a mistake the Wyatt Youngblood group of pit stops made. They had a really, really rough pit stop, and they had to pick up the pieces with TJ Hanley and Zach Case, and they lost a ton of ground. And while Wyatt Youngblood is 4th, he has just entered the back straightaway. Gabriel Goli is climbing the banking of 3 and 4 right now. So he's got a long way to go. Now, certainly he has a little more numbers, just a couple more cars. I think he will get there, but it's going to be a little while.
They're going to have to work to get there. And now they're in this bed of now. I don't think they can make it to the end here. But they don't have a choice. They have to push as hard as they can if they want a chance to even get the Zarate and goalie to maybe pressure them into causing a wreck or something, right? They can't afford to sit back here and save fuel and do stuff. They have to go to try to catch those leaders.
Yeah, and I think that is really what's going to be what will hurt them in the long run. I think they are most certainly going to catch Gabriel Goli and Christian Zarate, but when you get to the end of the race, I mean, Wyatt Youngblood has led his pack since that pit stop. He's led the whole time. TJ Hanley's tucked up behind him right now, and he kind of had to fight back to catch up. Both of those guys are almost certainly not going to make it on gas unless whatever has happened earlier in this race has just been a complete anomaly, and this last run can magically go longer. Wyatt Youngblood is in a severe disadvantage fuel-wise.
I mean, you see Hanley all over the back end. I mean, And that's something you have to work with too. You're gonna have to work with this 66 to 85, because Hanley cannot just sit there and run and sit behind this car and push this whole time. They're gonna have to coordinate. Okay, I'm hot. I'm gonna go to the back. 66 comes through. They're just gonna have to cycle through here. It looks like now the 7, the 1's gonna try to give the 13 some clean air here and then drop back down.
Very smart move there from Youngblood, and that is what you see out of a veteran super speedway driver right there. Giving the car behind you a little bit of air, trusting that TJ Hanley is not going to take the gap and run with it, but he's just going to use it to get air. I mean, if they start battling, their chances are almost certainly out the window, because then you might not even catch, and you're probably going to run out of gas. So give him that little bit of air, trust in him, and just take what you have right now.
They are catching the top two there, Zarate and Goalie. Obviously, they have a little bit less cars, like you said, Peter. They have Christian Zarate back there that's trying to do everything he can to help these guys. But obviously, you see the 41 now kind of all over the place there, over the back of the 55 machine.
Yeah, and he's not holding back at all, pushing Goalie. And the also something you got to worry about here is, you know, Gabriel Goalie, he might be good on gas, but he's also been leading his group this whole entire time. Do you possibly look at Goalie as a threat for running out of gas? I mean, when you run up front, you're not going to make 30 laps. I mean, we saw the drivers who were up front on the last run pit 21 laps into a run. 9 more laps? I don't know if you can stretch that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard, right, to try to negate that. And obviously, Zarate, I think, is doing the opposite of what Goalie's doing. He has not even tried to get to the rear end of the 41. I think he is trying to save a little bit of fuel versus try to help this pack out, which in the long run, maybe for Zarate, it might be good. But right now, I mean, they're not. I mean, you can see right there, I mean, he's almost 2 car lengths behind, not helping this pack out.
I think the big winner out of all these pit stops is actually Gio Turpin. He's 6th right now. Remember, we watched him pit. He was the last driver to pit out of everybody who on the lead lap made their pit stops. He's almost certainly good on gas. He is 6th right now. Every driver in front of him has a question mark next to their name when it comes to the gas tank. Gio Turpin is the first car who's almost definitely good.
And not only that, he's got a group of guys behind him that can help him get to the front here. Obviously, he's almost 8 seconds behind Kiger in 5th, but I mean, he's got a whole parade of cars here that can help him out. Granted, he is blinking a little bit. That's not going to be very trustworthy if the leader of your pack's blinking in and out, but he's got a whole barricade of guys behind him who can help get him to the front.
Yeah, and it really all matters here. If these guys who are top 5 make it to the white flag and they run out, it's where you run out. I mean, we saw Benjamin Bushnell leading at the end of the stage. He ran out coming onto the back straightaway, barely made it to the pits. The start-finish line, I know they mention it in every single broadcast you've seen at Talladega. It's all the way down closer to turn 1 than it is to the center of the tri-oval. So it makes it even harder to stretch that gas. You got to go farther than any other track, and especially for a 2.66 mile superspeedway, the longest track on the schedule, it's going to be extremely difficult to make it on gas if you are even one lap, even think you might run out on the last lap.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting because, like we talked about it when the 25 ran out of fuel. If he could have just came down and limped it down at Daytona, right, he probably would have crossed the line, maybe even would have won the stage. But obviously, the pits are before you get to the start-finish line. Once you see your race leaders crossing now, that's just that extra 100 feet, it might not seem like a lot, but it could make or break a race here. Because if you have to come down and just try to top off to make it there, or limp it, or maybe just even go down pit road to roll to get to the line there, I mean, it's an extra 100 feet that other drivers who are going, well over 180, 100 miles an hour, 190 miles an hour can take advantage of.
Yeah, 20 laps to go here at Talladega. Gabriel Goalie is currently your leader with Christian Zarate 2nd, and Wyatt Youngblood 3.6 seconds back from Zarate. He is in 3rd right now, and I think Christian Zarate is kind of the shocker out of this top 5 so far. We didn't talk about him pretty much at all since the green flag dropped, and he's found himself up front. It's very uncharacteristic of his previous wins that we've seen. It's normally he's got pace the whole entire day. We talk about him a lot, but Christian Zarate, it shows 53 on the scoring, but he's in the 99 machine. He has found himself in a very good position so far.
Remember, Zarate was a lap down at the start of the race. I think he started from the pits or something and forced him to go a lap down there. So, went went from a lap down, recovered with the caution at stage 1, got his his lap back, and now sitting here in P2, doing a really good job. I mean, obviously, like we talked about it before, not really hoping it push this line out, but I think he's doing what's best for him, which is saving fuel.
And I don't know, Christian, you might have the numbers, but Zarate, I feel like, went longer than anybody else on that last one. I know Gio Turpin was the last car to pit, but Zarate had a lot. He already had laps on that tank. And if he was able to stretch it that far, farther than we expected, maybe that was a little bit of a setup for later in this race when, you get to this point, and this is the time to stretch it at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, him and Goalie came in at the same time, which was on 16 laps ago, so they have to go an extra 18 laps, which adds up to what? I mean, more than 30, so it's going to be definitely interesting to see if Zarate can stretch it here. Obviously, he hasn't really done a lot of work to try to push this line out, which is allowed now Wyatt Youngblood. They're slowly crawling up to this front pack.
Yeah, 34 laps that they're going to have to make. I don't know if that is possible. What we will see, I mean, judging off what we've seen earlier, it might be possible, just barely. I mean, if we get a caution at the end of this race, green white checkers come into play. I mean, almost certainly everybody's going to come down. It's 11 cars on the lead lap right now. You're not going to lose a ton of track position if we were to get a yellow, but it could be very interesting if some of these guys, they get the track position based off their previous pit strategy, maybe have found their way in a really good spot fuel-wise, and then if we were to get a caution later, this could bring a whole new cast of characters into it.
Exactly. We've seen Wyatt Youngblood. They have caught the back part of the draft here, so they do have the draft here. Well, Wyatt Youngblood, when they get to them, they will get to them now. They are running significantly faster right now, 190 to 185, so almost 5 miles an hour quicker. Will he lift and sit behind, or will he try to take advantage and take this race lead?
I don't know. It's almost a time will tell kind of thing. If you're Wyatt Youngblood, you got to be thinking about aggressively saving fuel at some point here once you get towards the front, because I mean, we've talked about it literally this whole entire run. We're pretty sure he's not going to be able to make it. If you go up there, you pass everybody, you continue to lead a lane, are you writing your death certificate there?
It's going to be interesting to see what he decides to do here, as they have caught your race leaders. Wyatt Youngblood getting to the back end of the 99. Will sit. No, he will pull out a line and try to go lead this race.
Brings Hanley with him. Case is a little farther back, but he's also going to look to go to the high side. Youngblood now to the outside of Goalie. First lead change we've seen in 20 or so odd laps. And now Wyatt Youngblood is going to control the race once again today. And what a job from Hanley and Youngblood, Case, Kiger, all four of them to push their way back up to this lead 3 and take it away from them.
Yeah, it's a great job out of them, but obviously at what cost, right? We talked about it. They were the first guys to come down pit road. I mean, we talked about the leaders had to go 34. These guys have to go almost 40, right? So I just don't see a way that they have any shot at winning this race without getting a lucky caution here, everybody coming down pit road. I mean, they have 23 laps on their tires on this stint. They have to go another 15. Now 14 to go.
I mean, 40 is almost double what they did on the last run. 21 was when they pitted. 40 is, I can't even imagine that it's going to be possible with the fuel settings that we have for this race. They almost are banking on the caution, but there is, maybe that's that strategy of going up there and racing. You're hoping somebody makes a mistake once you start becoming a bigger pack that could cause something worthy of a caution, and then you're right back in it. But they need a bank on that, and that is not a good feeling as a driver.
No, it definitely isn't. I mean, hoping for a caution is like last resort. Like, man, my race is ruined, right? I can't. There's nothing I can do, right? And the only thing that I can say is a benefit right now is they are pulling away from Geoturpin right now. These guys just have not found a rhythm, have not gotten connected. It looks like the 00 and the 42 once again working pretty decent together. But the only thing I could think that they're trying to do right now is they're trying to pull as much of a gap as they can. So maybe they can go in here, splash and go, and get out here, maybe try to mitigate the damage.
Yeah, I don't think a splash and go is obviously. I feel like that's almost their only option. Oh, Gabriel Goalie's pitting. All these drivers up front are pitting right now. I believe TJ Hanley, there it is. Wyatt Youngblood, Zach Case, Gabriel Goalie, Oliver Quinney, Christian Zarate. This is big time. We thought they might not be able to make it. They're down pit lane. Christian, any black flags?
Now I see none. So great job by these, 7 cars here, 8 cars to come down, get these cars slowed down. But now we're looking back at Geoturpin. They're going through the trial now. It's not even going to be a conversation.
Oh man, they're absolutely gonna blow past these guys as they're still getting tired. They're still getting fuel put in the cars, and Geoturpin takes the lead here at Talladega. 11-12 laps to go, and right now it's him and Brian White, and they actually have a lap car in between. Geoturpin is in an incredible spot right now.
I mean, he's in the spot. Like, they gave him the crown and they handed it over and said, hey, you want this race win, come take it, because we messed up the strategy. I mean, he only had 16 laps of fuel burned in this tank, and I don't even think it matters whether he slid a lap. I think he has plenty to go to make it to the end here. 16 complete now, 12 to go. I mean, you do the math. I mean, I think he's in a really good spot.
Yeah, and when we started looking at Turpin, I mean, they're not really pushing that hard speed-wise. I mean, Geoturpin's going 180 right now. 180 into turn 1. Earlier in the day, it was like 188. This front pack is 10 mile an hour slower than average race pace at the moment. So maybe they are still saving, but that, I don't think that much slower is going to really benefit the drivers behind them. I don't think that gives them enough time to catch.
I mean, it'll be interesting. 13 seconds is the gap back to Christian Zarate, and they're closing in. I mean, they're 13 behind, but they're closing quick. Now down to 12
Turpin just went up to the top. Turpin just went up to the top. He was going 165. I think he's dropped to the back, possibly trying to save a little bit of gas. That's going to give Brian White the lead and put Joseph Enright second.
It'll be interesting to see. Obviously we saw Gio has led this whole time since they came out of the pits. Obviously, we saw them stretch it out to 30, but that was probably with fuel saving. We didn't even think of something like that. Geoturpin has led this whole time, and he's he needs to buck up here and get up here. He might lose this draft here.
Yeah, and you could see Caleb Gordon is trying his best to push that 42 Dollar Tree Toyota up to the back bumper of the 77 lap car of Wyatt Thompson. But right now, it seems a little futile. I think Turpin might just barely tack on. I don't know. We've seen drivers lose the draft very easily. He may have just lost it.
I think he just lost the draft, Peter. I mean, I'm looking back at it now. He's still losing 1.2, 1.25, 1.3.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think he has lost the draft.
He has lost the draft. I mean, he was 1 second back last time at the line. He was 1.6 this time, and it's only going to keep exponentially getting worse for him.
9 to go. This back pack is flying right now. And obviously we talked about that front pack is about 10 miles an hour off the pace. Now we've seen Brian White. All those guys have picked it up a little bit now, up into the 190s, but still, this backpack has caught all the way back up. Now they're 12 seconds not only to the back of the pack, but to the back of the next person. They're 12 seconds behind the leader.
They've almost gained 2 seconds in the last lap and a half on this front group. Now, isn't enough time, though. 8 to go, that time by. Give it lap 83 of 90. Brian White 187 going into turn 1. That pace is definitely picked back up a little bit, but Wyatt Youngblood leading that backpack. He is not lifting. Nobody back there is, and actually Hanley has to duck out to the high side. That might kind of mire their progress back a bit.
To the 41 of Quinny's going to go in there and try to drive it in, try to push this car out, and I think that's just once again, we talked about temps. I think, obviously Hanley and Youngblood have worked phenomenally to get this speed out of the cars here, but obviously he had to back out of it there. I mean, temps have to give at some time here, so now it's going to be up to this 41 to push this one machine out.
And Joseph Enright is in a great spot right now. He's in the catbird seat, and I also don't think we've talked about him enough today because he has a ton of speed when it comes to these super speedways. He had a great car at Daytona, found himself towards the front a lot during that race. Unfortunately, it did not fall his way, but the 7 machine of Enright finds himself second once again. Could this possibly be where he breaks into victory lane for the first time this season?
Remember, he was the runner-up there. He was the second man standing at Daytona. It was side by side at the line, and Kiger got it over the 7 machine. So the 7 has shown speed all super speedways. Really was up there at Atlanta, couldn't get it done there when Kendorian Davis brought it home. But yeah, the 7 has put himself in a really great spot to come home and maybe take home his first win tonight. And honestly, Brian White, what a race for him. Has not really shown the pace that we really expected him to have. But having a phenomenal Talladega here, a phenomenal start to the playoffs here, could potentially come out here and win in round 1.
And we are winding down. It's going to be coming back to 5 laps to go. And Wyatt Youngblood is 9.6 seconds back last time by. I'm sure it's a little less than that now. But, I mean, Gio Turpin has really lost. I mean, he's 5 seconds off of Benjamin Bushnell, the 5th place car. He's almost certainly going to get caught by Wyatt Youngblood. And if anything, that's just going to increase their numbers even more for that backpack.
You see back there, you see that backpack in the background, catching quick. They're going to get these 2 within this lap.
I don't think they have enough time to get to the leaders now. I will say there's kind of been a top 3 breakaway at the lead. Nicholas Amons, that 3rd place car, he's had a great run today, but they've separated themselves from Kendorian Davis and Benjamin Bushnell. So having, 5 or 6 cars in a lead pack can work. It doesn't quite work as well, though, when you're spread apart like they are right now. It's almost just becoming 2 3-car tandems.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's going to be... They've knocked it down now to, well, it was 7 seconds, but they will have the draft here of these 2 in front. We'll see how cordial these 2 will be about letting these guys go. Will they stay on the bottom? Will they force, these 6 cars behind them to go up top? They will. And the 1 will take the hard right turn. Try to get around these slower lap cars. Is Gio Turpin trying to do a little bit of a blocking?
Yeah, and that's going to kind of slow them up a little bit. And with that whole group of guys having to go to the high side, that's going to hurt them a good chunk. Now, they have gained a lot. 7 seconds back from the leader. It was 9 2 laps ago. I mean, they certainly are closing fast. But is it enough time? We're coming back to 3 to go.
It's going to be close. It's going to be tight. They've been, on pace, closing about 2 seconds a lap. They're 7 back now, so they should be there within striking range if they keep it up. But that's the thing. They have to keep this pace up to put themselves in the spot.
Brian White currently leading, 3 laps to go. And now you could see Enright following in behind with Amons that time by. Youngblood was 6.9 off of Brian White. That was not as big of a gain that time by. That last lap, having to pass Gio Turpin and Caleb Gordon may have cost that pack a chance at the win.
We'll have to see here. 3 to go. I mean, it's going to be tight. Remember, all they have to do is get to the back of Bushnell. They don't have to get all the way up to White there, which is, I mean, almost a second. So, I mean, that's a second that they don't have to worry about. So, I'm looking more back at how far are they behind the 25, and now it's down to 5 seconds as they cross the line.
2 laps to go. Brian White continuing the lead. There's the opportunities here are starting to run out. Joseph Enright, Nicholas Amons, they might be the only 2 at the moment who have the opportunity. But if they go to make a move, could Kendorian Davis and Benjamin Bushnell possibly enter the picture?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I think Kendorian thinks that something's going to happen. I really like where he's at right here. Sitting back, trying to figure out what a game plan is. He has a Chevy T8, the 25 back there, who will probably go with him. I don't really see a reason why the 25 wouldn't. Kendorian has shown that he knows what to do at these super speedway finishes here. As here comes the 88.
There it is. Kendorian to the high side. Enright was kind of dropping off the back bumper of Brian White and may not have gotten the opportunity to take it. He still can. White flag one more time around for Brian White. This race has gone 90 laps, caution free, and we have a race for the finish.
Brian White, with the help from the 7 of Enright, going to get a huge shove down the backstretch. But here comes the 88 with the run off the top with the help from the 77. Here comes the 7 to block.
Enright blocks the high side, 3v3, 4v3, Enright to the lead. Here comes Kendorian Davis being pushed by the lap car of Wyatt Thompson. Joseph Enright into 3 and 4 through the center. He's got the lead coming out of turn 4.
The 88's clear if he wants to make a move here with the 84. He's going to get hooked. That's going to eliminate them. Side by side, going to be trying to look. Going to the tribal into the restart zone. Does the 88 have anything? I don't think so. Joseph Enright wins Talladega here to start the playoffs.
And there it is, Joseph Enright. I mean, we said he could punch his way in tonight. This could be his first victory of the season, and he did it. And how about, I just want to say, how about the run that Kendorian Davis has been on in the last couple weeks? A second-place finish coming off of 2 wins in a row. That 88 is on fire coming into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable to see the results that this 88 has been able to put up. We know he's had the speed all race, all season. It's until lately you have not been able to put the finishes together, whether it's been mistakes on pit road, whether it's been getting wrecked out in races. But, I mean, he's on the roll right now, but we already see the celebration out of the 7 machine. Congratulations to Joseph Enright. We'll see him burn it down here on the front stretch tribal.
And Enright had a great block coming into the tri-oval to fend off Davis, and I think at that point, Kendorian Davis was content with the second place, didn't want to risk any more, and he pushed Joseph Enright across the line. But what an effort from Enright to take that win away from Brian White. I mean, a really great last couple laps from the 7 machine.
I mean, it was phenomenal blocking, phenomenal race craft there. I mean, obviously he was there second in line that whole time. He wasn't leading. He had to make the move to win this race, and he did, right? And I think it definitely helped that there wasn't really anybody at the end to, test that. If there was like a 10, 20 car pack there, I think it would have made it a little bit harder for the 7 machine, but the 7 took advantage of the cars that were dealt. And obviously we see him victorious here, burning it down here on the front stretch.
90 laps green besides the stage break. That is refreshing to see after the race that we had at the Atlanta Super Speedway just a couple weeks ago, where it was caution riddled, to come here to Talladega and have a fuel mileage race with no cautions, and Joseph Enright came out on top of all of that. What a race.
It was phenomenal. I mean, one of the best Talladega races I think I've called in a long time. And, we talked about in the pre-race, we thought that these drivers had it in them to put on a great show for you guys, and they definitely did.
Yeah, 100%. And we're going to work on getting your drivers ready for their interviews. And Christian, I think you have Joseph Enright in the waiting room.
Hey, Joseph, it's Christian and Peter up in the HBTV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah.
Well, what a finish, what a race, what a performance by you in the 7 machine. Now, walk us through the race, walk us through what got you here in the victory lane.
I mean, working with Ken and Wyatt Thompson, that whole race, we were saving fuel pretty much from the start. I led a lap and then dropped to the back, and the fuel just played into our hands, and we were able to go with Ken and make that last lap pass.
Well, yeah, and obviously you have a lot of speed on these super speedways. You've had it all season for the three that we've gone to. Do you feel like this is a little bit of redemption for Daytona earlier in the year?
Definitely. I mean, super speedways are pretty much the only shot I have to get a win. Other places I can just sneak out a top 10 or top 5.
Looking back at the pit strategy, you talked about it saving fuel the whole time. What was going through your head when you saw, those group of guys who, made a mistake? I think like every guy in one pack kind of sped down pit road, and it kind of really changes the trajectory of the race and the fuel strategy here to put you guys in a better spot.
I mean, I was honestly kind of shocked that some of the guys pitted lap, I think 55 or so, like 5, 6, 7 laps before we could even make it. And, they were gaining on us, but they just didn't have enough time to get there.
Well, despite that, Joseph coming home here victorious, your first win. Obviously, you talked about it, kind of a comeback from Daytona. Obviously, narrowly lost that to the 85 there of Brandon Kiger. But before we let you go, is there anybody you want to thank here for this win tonight for the start of the playoffs?
Just Ken, Wyatt Thompson, everyone at Mach 4 Racing, Mach 5 Racing, and for you for putting on a great broadcast.
Well, we definitely appreciate the kind words up here in the booth. I know everybody here involved appreciates that. But once again, congratulations on your win here, locking yourself into the next round of the playoffs. Hopefully, we can talk to you once again next week.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Peter, I think, has your P2 finisher, Dorian Davis. Man's been on a roll.
And Dorian Davis, it's Peter and Christian up at the High Velocity TV broadcast booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got a copy.
Man, you have been on an absolute roll so far the last 3 weeks, coming off 2 wins and now a second place finish. Obviously, 1 spot short of that victory, but a very good run from you today. Talk us through it.
Well, when we created up to run the race, looking at the field, I knew it was going to be all about field strategy. So throughout the entire race, from the drop of the green, I was saving. Like, you really had to be on it. You had to be disciplined. I got a bit of help from my teammates, as always. We got together, put our heads together, figured out some stuff, and got a great result out of it. Everything just went together.
Well, you talk about field strategy, and from the drop of the green flag, we obviously saw even when we saw the stage was at lap 30, us up in the booth being just a little bit uninformed, thought that you guys could at least make it to the stage there. But obviously, we saw everybody come down a little bit early to try to kind of get to the stage instead of make it to the stage. Walk us through the differing strategies and how you thought about that.
Honestly, like on my part, when we were coming to the stage, I was trying my best. My teammate is the one, Joseph Enright. He actually considered to me, like, he asked me about pitting early, and I was somewhat against it, but he talked me into it. I looked at the fuel. We weren't gonna make it. We weren't gonna save, so we went ahead and took a gamble and pitted, and everything turned out great. We ended up finishing great in the stage, and everything just went well from there.
Yeah, well, a great points day for you and the whole entire team. And anybody you want to thank for such a great day here at Talladega?
Yeah, as always, I definitely like to shout out my good friends and teammates over at Fox Motorsports, Mach 5 Racing. We're really firing on all cylinders right now, and it's really good to see. I'd also like to shout out you guys once again for a great broadcast. Always good to have you aboard.
Thank you. We appreciate it a lot, and you guys are certainly firing on all cylinders, and we hope to get to talk to you again next week.
Yeah, thank you.
That was Dorian Davis, your second place finisher, and I believe Christian is with your third place finisher of Brian White.
Hey, Brian, it's Christian and Peter up here in the HVTV booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. Hello.
Well, hello to you. A podium for this 84 machine. Obviously we've talked about it with all these other drivers here up in the booth, but A little bit of a differing, pit strategy compared to what we were expecting here for Talladega. So just walk us through your race and walk us through what got you up here into this third place.
Gonna be honest, I've noticed at the beginning we weren't gonna be able to make it to the stage, but I tried all I could to save. Figured out we could save 30 laps, or save about 5 laps and get to lap 30 in a run. And I did the math from there, saw we pitted at lap 33 under the stage, and knew I could make it to 62, 63 if we saved hard enough like we did. And then we wouldn't have to pit again. I was going for the one stop strategy. A lot of people didn't believe in it, but I did, and I guess the top 6 of us, or however many it was, we all figured out how to save it until the end.
Yeah, well, it certainly seemed to work out, and the whole entire race going all the way green. I think that was a little bit of shock to me and Christian up here. But did you expect that? I mean, obviously that really played into the hands of fuel strategy.
I was really hoping it for that fuel strategy reason. I mean, I knew from the moment we had all gotten our first pit stops done, between the guys who pitted at 50 and the guys who pitted at 60, we got at that point, us who pitted at 60 weren't going to go a lap down, and we weren't going to have any issues with that. So I knew we were fine. If there was a caution, it was what it was. We would have been able to get more fuel. We wouldn't have to save as much, and we could go for it. But that's just the fact there was no caution made it even more beautiful to get the top 6 of us to finish up in that little pack. I was just hoping in the last 5 laps nobody wrecked so we wouldn't lose it.
Well, obviously coming home with the P3 finish. Before we let you go, I have a question. So obviously a P3 finish is a good thing to go, but do you think the lack of cars up there in that front pack really kind of helped deter any run you would have had to maybe go up there and race for the win?
I mean, pretty much, yeah. We tried our best. Me and Nicholas did. We knew it was the 2 of us Toyotas against all those Camaros, and we knew it wasn't going to be the 2 of us weren't going to be enough to stop the 4. But we tried our best. It is. I mean, I got the P3 out of it. I feel bad because I wrecked Nicholas, and I think it was the 25 in the process. But we were just all trying to go up and get the side draft off the group to try to maybe pull him back. It's unfortunate the way that it ended.
Yeah, we definitely saw the kind of beating and binging there at the end. But despite that, I mean, still coming home with the P3 finish. Before we let you go, is there anybody you want to thank here for this podium spot?
Want to thank Black Dirt Racing Co. for getting me and their team, getting us this little group that we had. The amount of us tonight made it so we could all survive just in case anything happened. We had the same strategy for ourselves. I want to thank Nick for the pushes at the end there, and thank Bass Pro Shops for sponsoring the car. And I do want to, I don't know how, if anybody else did this, but dedicate that to Mr. Charlie Kirk, who unfortunately died last Wednesday. It's an unfortunate circumstance, but I want to dedicate my performance tonight to him.
Yeah, I definitely saw a couple of weeks here, and obviously, no one else did, but very kind of you to do that. But once again, congratulations on this P3 finish. Hopefully, we can talk to you up here, maybe a couple spots better in victory lane.
Thank you, sir.
Some kind words from the 84 machine of Brandon White here, but Peter, I mean, just really very chaotic race in a good way, I would say. It just I loved obviously the fuel strategy portion of that. Obviously going green to the end there, very unexpected for me.
Yeah, that race was incredible to call and incredible to watch. I mean, so we've had a lot of races this season where cautions have been an issue, but to have a race at Talladega go green for 90 laps is, I mean, that's stuff you don't even see in the Cup Series nowadays, and those are, the top level of drivers. So a very, very interesting race. I mean, we don't get to call many fuel strategy races in this league, so it's refreshing to get one nowadays.
No, I definitely agree, and I'll just continue to say that shout out to the drivers for keeping it green, keeping it going, and making it that good, right? I mean, it's so refreshing to see a super speedway race like that goes green, and the fuel cycle blends out obviously, and I mean, if it was the 250, I think this race would have definitely been a little bit different. As Wyatt Youngblood and Gabriel Gully, all those guys involved back there, got that gap down to 3.5 seconds. So I think even maybe 2 or 3 more laps, and it would have been a different scenario there for the race for the win.
Yeah, if this race was an even 100 laps, I think you have another 7 cars that are in the fight and completely changes. I mean, your top 3 might not even be the same if you have another 10 laps in that one.
Yeah, I mean, it would have definitely been interesting to see if they could have got there. But obviously, coming back to that, that our top 3 finishers are there because they figured out the fuel strategy. They were disciplined, like Joseph and them said. They had to stay locked in to make sure that they could make it to the end there. Unfortunately, for people like Youngblood and those all back there, they might have seemed like they had the best shot to win, especially with the combo of Youngblood and Hanley and the 66 of Case and the 85 of Kiger. Those two kind of singular tandems really seemed strong all race, but fortunately, just the strategy didn't work out for them.
Yeah, it didn't quite. And I mean, you take a gamble, and unfortunately, it doesn't work today. But you kind of got to take those, especially when it comes playoff time. And for some of these guys, such as Youngblood, who took that gamble and went for the 2-stop, he has really struggled to find good finishes this season, even though he's had great pace. You take this one as, you tried something, you still got a good finish out of it. I mean, still going to be a good point stay, and you move on to next week. I mean, you can't really dwell on it too much.
Exactly. And coming into the playoffs, obviously, that's something you really have to talk about. Obviously, winning your in is what you need to do, right? Like for Joseph Enright, who's locked himself into the round of 12, that is what you need to do. But also, I feel like the points racing aspect of the playoffs is something that is very underrated, right? For me, when it comes to my racing career on the sim or even real life, if you want to say that, even though it's not as much as I'd like to, points racing is going to be massive here coming down into the playoffs, right? I mean, it is going to be about like singular points that get you in to the next round or bump you out.
Yeah, and playoffs get a lot of hate nowadays, but I mean, I'll be one to say it. I enjoy them because of these moments. I mean, the storylines that come out of a playoff system in motorsports are just absolutely incredible. I mean, as these next couple weeks go on and drivers are going to start getting eliminated and we're going to start whittling down this field until we get to a championship fight, it's probably not going to go the way that the fans at home and that we expect it to go.
Exactly. I mean, there's nothing that you can do to predict a NASCAR champion anymore, right? You look at, generic sports that use the playoff system, right? You could tell, okay, this team is going to do well. They have a good roster. They have all this, right? When it comes to motorsports, it just isn't like that, right? You can have one bad race and you could be the best car in the field. You could be a Jacob Quill and have one bad race and miss the next round of the playoffs, right? You look at like Kevin Harvick in 2020, arguably one of the best seasons ever, and had 2 bad races in the round of 12, didn't even make it into the round of 8, right? And those are going to be the talking points we're going to continue to talk about throughout this whole playoff system. And we might have those upsets, right? You might have a Kendall Davis that gets knocked out, and you might have some of these deep playoff runs that you don't expect, right? You might have someone like Benjamin Butchner that makes it into the round of 8, maybe sneaks his way into a championship 4, and that's the talking points right there. That is why we come home and watch these broadcasts and put on these broadcasts.
Yeah, and coming out of this week, next week it'll be Kansas, and obviously a very different style of track than Talladega, but it's a very fast 1.5 miles, and I think it provides a lot of opportunity for upsets. It's a multi-groove racing track. You can run the wall, you can paint the line, whichever you want to go with. But I think it provides a lot of opportunities for upsets, but it also provides opportunities for somebody like Kendall Davis, who lives by the wall, to have another great performance.
No, I definitely agree. It definitely puts some drivers into a place, right? You're going to definitely tell when you go into Kansas who needs some work and who is definitely put in the time to be championship ready, right? you're gonna look at someone like Kindorian, who you just mentioned, likes to rip the wall. That's a really good trait for Kansas, and that'll be good for him. But you might see some guys who kind of fallen behind, right? Maybe have gotten caught up from the Talladega, chaos, and thought that they could just kind of prance in to Kansas and automatically think that they're going to be good. And that's not what's going to happen. Kansas is a difficult track, right? I mean, if you want to go up there and rip the wall, you have to be disciplined, not to burn the stuff up, not to drive it in too deep, get in the wall, tear off your right front. And the same thing, if you go on the bottom, you have to be cordial about, not using up the fronts and using up the car. Put yourself in the wall on exit. And once again, tear off the right front. I mean, these drivers will have to do some homework going into Kansas, especially since it should be a day race. It's, I feel like day to night, especially at a track like Kansas, it really does change the way the track drives. But going into the day, it's definitely going to be a tire wear track.
Yeah, and it should be exciting. And once again, congratulations to Joseph Enright on the victory today. And Christian, I'm sure you're excited to go home to Kansas next week and get to call one on your home turf.
No, I mean, obviously Kansas home track here for the kind of the studios here for High Velocity TV. Obviously, we live, well, I mean, I would say give or take 2.5 hours away from Kansas Speedway, and yeah, I mean, it's a home track of mine. I've put a lot of time into the sim, trying to learn the track a lot. Obviously, we've had some semi decent success on the sim for myself personally, and obviously, I mean, it's a home track. I mean, just like you, Peter, you go up north, up to New Hampshire and all those, and up north. I mean, it's those tracks that you hold close to your heart. For me, Kansas is gonna be there, and it's gonna be super exciting.
100%, I agree.
But yeah, I think it's time to start to wrap up the end of the stream here. So before we let you guys go, let's go ahead and take a look at your unofficial race results here from Talladega for the Dega 225. Obviously, we talked to your top three: Joseph Enright, Kendorian Davis, Brian White. Gonna round out your podium. But Wyatt Youngblood, really quick here, gonna come out here P4. Adrian Goli, I mean, I think we didn't talk about him enough. How Fletcher at up front, but he'll come home rounding out the top five. Gio Turpin, we thought he was maybe the guy to steal a win here, but unfortunately just couldn't put the pieces together. He'll come home P6. P7 for Christian Zarati, TJ Henley P8, Brandon Kiger P9, and rounding out that top 10 is at 25 of Benjamin Bushel.
In the 11th spot, it's Nicholas Amons. And then rest of the cars, one lap down or more, starting with Wyatt Thompson in 12th. Oliver Quinney really never got over that packet loss issue and then ending up a lap down really early in that race. He's finishes 13th. Zach Case, 14th. Caleb Gordon in his debut is going to finish 15th. Justin Wilkes is going to round out your field in 16th.
Yeah, I mean, Peter, we kind of talked about this already, but an exciting finish for everybody else. But before we let you go, we got to definitely give a huge shout out to your league sponsors for the Prestige Cup Series and the Prestige Racing League. Obviously, got to give a huge shout out to Backmarker. Use code PRS10 at checkout for any needs for Backmarker. They sell a lot of stuff from shirts, t-shirts, water bottles, all kinds of cool stuff over there. So make sure to go check them out. Use code PRS10 at checkout. Also, make sure if you're looking for any button box needs or anything like that, whether you're an admin, whether you're just a racer who needs a couple extra buttons to help manage your race, manage your broadcast, manage your live stream, look no further than the admin box. Make sure to use code PRSBOX at checkout. And lastly, make sure to go out there and check out Team Foster. Team Foster, a nonprofit who is dedicated to getting wounded veterans who have just come out of the military or whatever service that they did, to try to get them some service animals, some service dogs to help them, with day-to-day life. And obviously, from someone who grew up with a military family, it would really mean a lot for if you guys would help support them. So once again, thank you to Team Foster for being a part of the AWC, not the AWC Pro Series, that is tomorrow, but for the Prestige Cup Series. Once again, thank you to Team Foster. We also have one more sponsor that came on within the last couple of weeks here. We have 4 Mile Promotions. So 4 Mile Promotions is a promotional company, whether it's for merchandise, graphic design, or anything else. So huge shout out to 4 Mile Promotions for stepping on board to be a partner for the Prestige Cup Series. Make sure to use code S2R11 at checkout for 50% off your order there. And also a huge shout out to TJ Designs for sponsoring the playoffs. Obviously, they'll be handling some ordeals when it comes to the championship and prizes for the drivers. And I think that's really cool to incentivize these drivers to continue to come and want to race here in the Prestige Cup Series. Obviously, the race is really good, but obviously, if it is a little bit of a motivator to get some of these drivers to continue to stick around the race, maybe for some prizes and stuff like that. But besides that, once again, my name is Christian Delgado, your lead producer, commentator, alongside Peter Terrio in the booth. Once again, welcome back to the booth, Peter. We obviously missed you, but glad to have you back. And we will see you guys over in the Heartland for Kansas Speedway for round 2 of the Round of 16 playoffs. Hope everybody has a great rest of the night. We will see you guys soon.